Let's get to a very, very interesting video clip, a shocking clip to many. I have video of a Christian pastor who understands the separation of church and state. I know, it sounds crazy, but TD Jakes, who I don't agree with on most anything, reacted to the Supreme Court's big decision saying that states can't ban same-sex marriage. And he made it very clear that the state is not the church and that the Christian community should not flip out about this. Let's take a listen to what TD Jakes had to say.
Well, it's been an interesting week. I'm sure you've heard of it. There's been a lot of things to hear about. A lot of things to hear about. But one of the things that I've been bombarded with is the Supreme Court making a decision about same-sex marriage. And everybody's been texting and tweeting and preachers calling me. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? What are you going to say? Send me your statement. I'm not really as concerned about this as a lot of people are. I'm really not as concerned about it. I think that we should not lose our mind over the world being the world and the church being the church. This is not a news flash. The world is going to be the world and the church is going to be the church, and you have to understand the difference. The Supreme Court is there to make a decision based on constitutional rights and legalities that fit all Americans. They are not debating Scripture. They're just not debating Scripture. I guarantee you that they weren't in there looking at Romans 1 and 1 Corinthians 6 and weighing it against the policies. We have bought into all of this rhetoric about America being a Christian nation. I like to say that America has a lot of Christians in it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a Christian nation. This is not a theocratic form of government. It's a democratic form of government. And so you have to understand and just calm down and relax. But what we do need to watch is that our religious freedom is also respected and protected.
Just spot on, Lewis. This is not a Christian nation. There are lots of Christians here in the U.S., but it is not a Christian nation. And the warning is what he says at the end about protecting and respecting religious freedom, because for some Christians, that means legalizing whatever discrimination they want. So completely agree with TD Jakes that this was a decision made that has nothing to do with religion. Religion is not something that should have any influence on what goes on civilly within the justice and civil system of our country. But when he goes on to say the issue here is protecting religious freedom, we know, Lewis, as analysts of what's been going on, that that is code for using religion to discriminate.
Yeah, usually. Of course, I like a lot of what he said here. I hope this wasn't his only sermon where he brought this up. I'm starting to think that if there's any megachurch pastor who deserves to be driving Bentleys, it might be this guy.
Right.
But
he is a prosperity pastor, Lewis.
Yeah, he is. So, I hope he is actually convincing his followers that there is a separation here and that it's necessary.
Remember, this is civil marriage we're talking about. If a church wants to do marriages or they want to call it something else and say, okay, we do bread baking, and bread baking is a tradition where one man and one woman agree to live together, have sex, and bake bread, right? And you just can't have two men doing that. Do whatever you want, call it whatever you want. It should have no impact whatsoever on civil marriage. Two consenting adults can do it regardless of gender, regardless of whether they bake sourdough bread or challah bread or donuts or lemon bars or whatever it is that Lewis is keeping in that freezer of his. That this is a civil issue and it has nothing to do with what's going on in churches.
You forgot multigrain bread. That's a really important one. But yes, you're right.